I hope you had a wonderful Turkey Day, full of gratitude and joy, and seeing family and friends coming home. Right? That's actually what this whole sermon series has been about coming home, creating home, welcoming our family, our friends back into our lives, about creating hearts that are bigger and bigger, that are more compassionate, more empathetic, more ready and able to bring in our family and friends, to allow people to receive the love of God. And so today we continue on this journey. And one of the great things is knowing that we have a friend, that God is our friend, that God cares for us, God reaches out to us, but also we're filled when we come to church with a room full of people that also are here for us. And it's amazing, actually, to be in a community where people just openly welcome one another, even if we haven't seen each other or know each other. Even I was thinking this weekend, after Thanksgiving, and we had a Friendsgiving, and then right after Friendsgiving, we jumped in our car and drove to New Orleans for Lena to go fly off to New York. And we messaged around some people, and we don't really know, personally, we don't know anybody in Louisiana. So we asked, who can we ask? And we asked a guy, hey, can we stay in your house? And he goes, oh, sure, and we've never met him before. And he goes, oh yeah, here's a code for my house, and there's coffee, and just, take anything, use anything. And it's amazing to have such a family that expands all throughout the country, all throughout the world, where you can just say, hey, I've never met you before, but you know so-and-so, and I know so-and-so. Can I just stay in your home? And so I had that kind of friend to call on, which was really neat, and we enjoyed our time there. But we've been go, and we're finally got back here to be with all of you today. And so I'm just glad to be here together with all of you. And so today I just wanted to share about the journey home, about the process of us coming back into a place where we can feel fulfillment, value, purpose, where we can be filled with love that we've been looking for and searching for in our everyday life. So, I got to turn that up. So, when Jesus was about to depart, when he knew his time was at an end, naturally his disciples were pretty anxious, pretty worried. Hey, we're all going to fall apart, and without you, what can we do? And Jesus kept trying to tell them, like, hey, the word's in you, and hey, the Holy Spirit's going to come, and oh, you guys got each other. But of course, they keep doubting and getting fretful. And of course, doubting Tom comes. Right? Doubting Thomas. He comes and goes, Lord, we don't even know where we are going. So how can we know the way? And Jesus is like, oh, just follow the way. You'll get there. You'll build this kingdom of heaven. It's going to be great. And they're like, what? You're leaving us. Where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? And Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. Right? They've been following Jesus, and Jesus keeps just saying, hey, come and follow me. Just don't worry about doctrine. Don't worry about all the ceremonies and all the rituals. Don't worry about understanding every book of the Old Testament. Just come and follow me. Live like me. Follow me. I'm the truth. I'm the way. I am the life. Do this and you're going to have it. This is my gift to you. This is my promise to you. Just follow my path. You don't have to figure out anything. Right? But we always want to have our systems. We want to have our easy step-by-step process. And Jesus said, well, just look. You've been following me for 3 years. Just keep on it. Keep this path. And he says, no one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you will know my Father as well. So what was the path that they were trying to find? What was the final destination? It was to be embraced by their heavenly parent. Right? This line says, it wasn't that the disciples were looking for the path to the pearly gates to have this great big palace. They were looking for a relationship with God as their parent. That was the final destination. That was the hope. So this verse is just saying, hey, come follow me. And that relationship with God will be given to you. That relationship with God will unfold to you. Come follow me. Be in my Father's heart. Be in my Father's house. Be in my Father's company. Come and enjoy. Build that community where God's love as a heavenly parent dwells. So that was the final destination. That was the journey. And so today we're talking about this journey, this process, this path that all of us seek, but sometimes we overcomplicate. All of us seek, but sometimes we get knocked off the path. All of us seek, but sometimes we look and we go, that's too difficult. But I want you to have hope, because just as Jesus was Lord, he also called his disciples what? Friends. And as we heard in this last song, just call on me and I'll be there. Any time, any season in your life, in the ups and the downs, in the winter and in the summer, I'll be there. Just call out my name. This is the promise we have. This is the gift, the joy, the opportunity for all of us and all of our friends and our neighbors looking for value, looking for purpose, looking for a place to settle. But we often have this question in our heart, right? What on earth am I here for? What am I doing in this life? What is this? What is my value? What is my purpose? What career should I be following, right? Where sometimes we're in these crossroads and we go, what job should I fill my time with? Right? What kind of relationship should I be looking for? What is that person going to finally appear that's going to make me happy and fill my life? Right? When should I have kids? When should I retire? You know, all these different things. And we go, what on earth? What is the purpose of this existence? And sometimes we struggle and we put ourselves through these cycles of difficulty and questioning ourselves and challenging ourselves as we struggle to find this truth. What on earth am I here for? Well, Reverend Moon said, always remember that God is the cause and we are the result. Right? We come from God. We are the result of God. And as resultant beings, our journey in life is to go back to the cause. Our path, our journey, our end result, our final destination is to come back into that relationship. Your first home was in your family, which is a wellspring of true love for your life. In your family, in that bosom of love where your parents put all their hopes and dreams into that little baby and watched you grow and develop, in that place where they tried their best to love you and to give you a better life than they had. That's the origin place of God's hope. God, the cause, looked at you and goes, wow, you are my perfect child. I've been waiting for you. So excited to meet you. And his whole hope and dream, and the reason he gives us these texts and asks us to pray and asks us to live a religious life is to come back to that relationship. To come back home. To be together again with our God as our parent. But we often get caught up in the mundane. We get caught up in our lifestyle of day to day, looking for purpose, looking for value. And we start noticing Monday flows into Tuesday and Wednesday, and now it's Friday. And then, the weekend's gone and we're back at it again. One day blends into the next, 1 month into the next. I don't know if you know it, but hey, December's here. Whoa! It's like, our calendar just kind of blends in, and you go, oh my goodness, the year just disappeared. Now I'm another year older. Now, another year has passed. And when we don't pursue purpose, when we don't have value, when we don't know what I'm doing here on this earth, it starts to get really boring. Right? Your job just becomes a job. It really just becomes something to pass your hours away. Sometimes when you don't have any purpose or value, you might even end up putting more hours in your work just because, what's there at home for me? What's there on the weekend for me? Right? And as we don't have value, as we don't understand our value or don't understand our purpose in life, it just kind of becomes mundane and boring. But that wasn't the life we were destined to live, right? Each one of us was destined to have joy and fulfillment, right? Each one of us is to find something that just lights up our eyes, that lights up our day, that when we wake up in the morning, we go, this is what I was built for. This is why I'm alive. This is what my parents must have seen when they first held me, and they go, oh, this is who he's going to become. This is what she's going to develop into. Each one of us is supposed to live with that kind of purpose, that kind of joy, that kind of excitement as we live into this fulfillment, as we live into becoming co-creators of this world. This was our purpose, and this is our hope and our dream. It said that all creations of God have the same goal and purpose. Right? We're all looking for, what's my purpose? What is my calling? Well, it's to journey towards the ultimate center, which is the true love of God. Every one of us in here, this is what we're called towards. This is what we're drawn towards. We're coming from all different directions, all different paths, all different starting points, but we're all pulled together like a magnet to God. And once they reach that goal, they're reaching a relationship with the entire universe. And how amazing that is. Once you come into that realization of your relationship with God, you're finally in a connection with every living thing, because every living thing is also pursuing that. A place where we can love freely. Not just giving it, but receiving it. Feeling that we deserve love. And the people around us also deserve love. When we come into that relationship with God, we are freed from all these worries and struggles of what I have to be. And we realize this is the place. It's to love and be loved. But it sounds really easy, but it's actually really, really hard, right? This isn't an easy path. It sounds exciting. This is the purpose of life according to the divine principles, that we are filled with joy, right? Bubbles and sunflowers. This is our life. This is our destination, brothers and sisters. This is where we ought to be, right? To just be loving life, to be loving our family, to be loving our neighbors, to just look at people and get excited. And although this is the purpose of every living being, we all somehow struggle to get here, right? This doesn't feel like the natural course often. Oftentimes we feel we're naturally in a state of depression or frustration or regret, when this is actually what we're supposed to be living in. But we need to learn that happiness isn't just a click away, but it's a process. As we learn, our value is determined by this progression of our hearts, of our bodies, of our souls. As we come and develop our hearts, our minds, our abilities, our skills, it's a step-by-step progression towards this joy. And actually, God designed it this way. God didn't just want us to wake up and be like, I don't have to do anything in life. He wanted us to be growing and developing. And as we see ourselves progressing through life, taking each step, each stair, we find ourselves coming into more and more joy. We find ourselves coming into a place where we go, hey, I did a good job today. I made a difference in someone's life. I impacted someone's heart. I read a sign this morning as I was driving, one of these church signs that said, be the reason that people say God is good. Right? People are looking for you, and as you develop, as you progress, and then people start seeing you and they go, wow, to see you, I just feel so happy now. I don't know why. It's a step-by-step process, though. So don't feel bad you're not there yet. Actually, the journey is part of the unveiling of God's gifts. And when we look at the Bible, we see the same progression, right? Well, we see at first there's this beautiful garden and the beautiful joy and all the happiness and all the potential. But then the rest of the Bible is just this journey towards back home, right? The whole thing is, how do we get back to Eden? How do we get back to this relationship with God? How do we get out of this slavery? Not just physical slavery, but emotional slavery and physical slavery, spiritual slavery, all these different things that were restricting us from living as human beings ought to. And we became no different than the rest of the creation, maybe even lower oftentimes. Not having the same joy as even a dog can have. Sometimes we are just struggling through life and oh my goodness, and life was so difficult. But the whole Bible is this journey back and saying, God is waiting, He's here. Come into relationship with me. God's saying, hey, my children, come back home. And then we impose these separations, these barriers of our heart, of our families, of our tribes, of our nations. And we separate ourselves instead of coming back together. And the Bible is just this fluctuation. It's this step by step. It's like we made 3 steps forward, and then, wow, we took 6 steps back. And now we're back in slavery again. Okay, let's build a new temple. Oh, now they took it over, and it's no longer our... there's just this development and this process of human beings trying to make this process. But you know what? It's a hopeful process. Because eventually we're making progress, and we come back to the starting point. This is where life begins, resurrection, restoration. When we receive salvation, it's bringing us back to the starting point. It's saying, here you go, now we're back. You're back at a place where now you can progress. Now you can start living the purpose of a human being. Now you can live in the value you were always meant to have. Now you're released. This grace is poured upon you so that you can step back at that starting point and have a chance at a valuable, loving life. Once you receive that salvation, you see God's abundant love, His grace upon your life, and you see all your mistakes and regrets and resentments, and you can say, those are behind me. God is starting me anew. And you look around at brothers and sisters, you look around at other people, you go, hey, I'm going to give them a second chance, a third chance, a 7 times 70 chance. I'm going to forgive them again, and we're going to start this new. I'm going to forgive my parents. I'm going to forgive my brother. We're going to start this new. This has been a process to get back to the starting point. A reawakening to who God is. That God's thrown out the tally book a long time ago, and God just wants you to embody being His child. And start recognizing that this world is filled with a bunch of your brothers and sisters that also deserve love. But to be honest, we've all been handed down broken ideas of what love is. And maybe our parents tried their best. Maybe our grandparents tried their best. But, man, their idea of love was a little bit different than what God's idea of love was. And so we've been replaying it. But now, let's start over. Let's start fresh, a new play. First, in understanding that God is a God of abundant love, of endless love. That God is our parent that desires us to live our best life. That each one of you is full of purpose and value. That when God looks at you, God smiles. It doesn't matter what you might think, or that voice in your head of that teacher or that boss that says you're not good enough. We got to come back to the understanding of who God is and what God is saying about you. What God is saying about your neighbor. Maybe even you've been thinking, that neighbor's no good. Maybe I should move. But when we come back to an understanding of who God is and what God is calling us all back to, we go, oh wow, this is God's child too. Let's start back at the beginning point, this space. Knowing God is a God of love. God is our parent. We're brothers and sisters. But it's a journey to come back to this home. Sometimes it feels very far away, right? Just like that house way up on that hill. Oh man, how will I get there? We have this image and we go, whoa, this is the kingdom of heaven. This is the ideal family. That's the marriage I want to have. That's the job and career I want to have. That's a relationship I want to have with my parents. And we go, whoa, but it's real far off. How am I going to get there? It is a journey. It's a process. Some of us, it seems like it just happens so easily, right? Thanksgiving, for some of you, it was like, oh, I just wake up and I'm in my parents' house, right? Oh, Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Some of us, we're far away. Right? Some of us, our relationship with God has always been easy somehow. It's just been felt natural and life has worked out. But a lot of us, right, we've gone through struggles. We'd had broken relationships. We'd had broken promises. We thought, hey, when I read this, I go, oh, this life will be good as long as I'm obedient and I'm faithful, then everything's going to turn out. And we go, wow, no, that was an illusion. This house is really far away. That ideal, that hope, that dream, that's a long journey. And it might be long, but believe and trust that God is going to get us there. God has that in His purpose. But it's an odyssey, and an odyssey is an eventful journey towards home. Right? It's not an easy journey, but it's going to be filled with adventure. It's going to be filled with hopes and dreams, and then it all dashed away, and then, oh, we wash up on a shore and try again. but the end goal is going to be home. That's where we're heading. So what is an Odyssey? We have this guy Odysseus, right, or Ulysses. Anyways, he goes off to the Trojan Wars and he battles. He tries to get out of it because he knows he has a prophecy that says if you go to this war, it's going to take you a really, really long time to get home. So he tries everything he can to not go to the war. But he gets called out and still has to go. And he ends up being a great stabilizing force in the war, a great hero. And then he's off to sail home. Right? He's done this journey many times, and this should be easy. I should just get home. But on his journey home, he's caught up in these winds that seem like they come out of nowhere. He battles cyclopses that are eating his crew. I mean, he's meeting the sirens. He's battling the undead. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff happens to Odysseus. All I want to do is go home. You know, he's just like, I just want to get there. And that's in his heart, and it's driving him. Even through all the calamity and the destruction and the difficulty, he has this vision of Penelope, his wife. Oh, I'm going to go home. I'm going to finally see her. And that just keeps him going. This promise of home, this promise of the joy, the promise of seeing her face once again. And so he goes this process, and then eventually losing all his crew, he winds up on this island by himself with a goddess. A goddess that falls in love with him, right? So in some sense, right, he can say, hey, I've arrived. Hey, wow, I'm on this beautiful island. He's got shelter, he's got food, he's got wine, and he's got a literal goddess that's in love with him. You know, I mean, it doesn't look so terrible, honestly, right? He's like, whoa. But he's stuck there, and even through, she uses spells on him to like keep him in love, you know, like forgetting about home and just staying there. But even through that all, this desire is underneath him all the time, pulling him towards home, saying, no, Odysseus, wake up. You know, something much better is there for you. Right? But a lot of us, we might get stuck on this island, right? We've been journeying home. We've been going through the process. And then we get to this place where, hey, you know, I've got some money in the bank. I've got a comfortable house. It's okay. And we lose sight of the promise that God has. It's not just okay, but it's perfect for you. This dream that God has, this marriage and this family that God says, you've got to keep this journey going. You've got to keep progressing. Don't just settle on this island with Calypso. No, get back on that raft and get going, because I've got something better for you. And so he puts this on his heart and keeps it in his heart. Eventually the other gods take pity on him and goes, Calypso, you got to let this guy go home. He's got a wife and kid. Come on. And eventually she goes, okay, here you go. And his journey isn't perfect going from there, but eventually he does come home. Eventually he does kick out all the suitors that are trying to woo his wife. And eventually he comes back and Penelope sees him, he sees her, and this is where he was meant to be. That was the destination, coming home. So each one of us, right? What is our destination? What is our purpose? What is our pursuit? It's to come home. God's waiting here. He's saying, hey, I got this big old hug for you. I've got love for you. And I know your journey's been difficult. I know you haven't gone the path that I laid down. Maybe the lantern was a little dim sometimes and you didn't see it. Maybe you even started forgetting about me. Maybe you started losing hope in this. But I haven't lost hope in you. When I look at this world, I go, man, sometimes, you know, you go through your news feed. Man, we are so far away from home sometimes. And people are in so much pain and hurt. And while we're enjoying our Thanksgiving dinner, we can't help but remember that there are other people that are suffering in this world. Some people that don't want to go home because they know what's waiting for them. And it ain't love. There's people that can't see the next day. They can't imagine that there's any hope left. God has called us and given us this glimpse right, for some reason, to give hope to the world. I was listening to a message Reverend Dunkley was sharing on a call the other night. He goes, Thanksgiving, we think about this blessing that God gave to America, and that God opened every door for the first pilgrims to just walk in here and start developing. God gave all these blessings. He didn't give it to them for themselves, but to create a sanctuary, a home for God's people to come to. And so when we look at our lives and we look and we go, hey, this is my life. And yeah, my life has been a journey. But also there's a lot of other people that have another journey too. Maybe their course has been really hard, and maybe I can give them love and support. Maybe I can be that friend for them. You see, each one of us shouldn't go this journey by ourselves, but we should band together. Sometimes, even though it's darkness all around, our company, our presence with one another, our support and love can be that little glimmer of light that can guide us on that path. That our Odyssey, our journey home, shouldn't be something we have to go through together, but that we can band together, that we can hike this trail together, that we can trailblaze together and find that home all together. That place of a joy, of happiness, that place of settlement. I mean, can you imagine just coming into the presence of God and just feeling that overwhelming love overflow you? But oftentimes we're too busy to feel this, to experience this, right? To experience that kind of bliss and that joy. And although God is shining that same light on each and every one of us, each and every day, 365 days a year, sometimes we don't feel that. But trust in this journey, in this process that God is taking us through, that we can be overwhelmed, we can be flooded with the warmth of God's love. And that promise is here for this whole world. That God's kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. That God's dwelling place will be found in us, in our family. So keep courage. Because one day, it won't just be about my personal journey, my personal testimony. It'll be about our journey. And to be honest, the journey is never complete when it's just you alone. Because the journey is about coming into community, coming into family, coming into a place where we feel that love when we look at one another. When we go out shopping and we look at each other not as strangers but as God's sons and daughters, this is the eventual settlement of God's heart. Where God goes, this is what I've been waiting for. When God finally looks at his children and goes, look, they're filled with joy. They're not striving anymore. They're not struggling anymore. They're not hurting each other. They're not taking from each other, but they're giving and they're loving. And God would feel so much joy to see his children finally getting along. As we recognize that we are all one family, that have been separated for way too long. But we're coming home, brothers and sisters. Just remember that the purpose and the untiring journey and goal can be summed up as this: the journey of going home. A God-centered homeward journey. So brothers and sisters, I want you to take heart this week. Remember the feeling of Thanksgiving and then that process of coming home to God, coming home to your loved ones, seeing faces you hadn't seen in a long time, remembering people that have gone before us. It's this eventual homeward bound journey. And I can't help but think in our own community, all the different journeys that are just starting, people moving in, people moving out, right? Doors being laid to rest out of the seat. Babies galore, popping up everywhere. Marriages starting. Relationships starting. Each one of us is on this journey, and it's about to happen, brothers and sisters. But we got to keep faith. We got to keep believing that although this home, way back here, seems far away sometimes, that the whole unveiling of history, the whole pursuit of God, the whole pursuit of mankind is finally going to come into culmination through each one of us as we learn to love and be loved. So welcome home, brothers and sisters. Rest yourself today, and let's start the journey together this coming week to love and be loved. Let's pray. Our dear Heavenly Parent, God, we love you. And we're so grateful to be in your presence. God, we know how much you love us. How much you give to us. How much you desire for us. It's been quoted, God, that you are a jealous God, desiring so deeply to be in relationship with each one of us. Desiring that we could finally shed all of our physical desires and just realize what we've been looking for all along has been right in front of us. God, everything we struggle through and strive through, everything we fight through, God, when we shed it all away and we see you, God, we see that final purpose finally being revealed. And God, I just pray for my family here today. And these are your sons and daughters. Those that you call your children and the ones that you love and are so proud of. God, I pray that we can all feel that today, that we can understand that today, that we can comprehend what you did when you created us, the love you invested, the hopes, the desires you planted inside each one of us. God, but it's not just for us, it's for this whole world. This world that you are taking back, God. God, this world that you are restoring. God, let us be part of that journey. Let us join together with you, God, to bring this world home. That we can finally sit as one family under God, one family united in your love. So God, as we complete this journey of this Homeward Bound series, God, I pray that we can be reminded of what we are building as a church, what we have to offer this world, and that we're also reminded about how much this world needs us. So today we also lift up our brothers and sisters that are struggling through poverty, that are struggling with drug addiction, that are struggling in abusive relationships, God, that are orphans, that are estranged from their spouse. God, we lift them up to you. We want to keep them in our hearts each day and remember your love for them. And remember that we are your hands and feet reaching out to our brothers and sisters on this journey back to you. God, we offer this prayer up to you. We offer up our hopes and dreams. I pray this in all of our names. And in your holy name, God. Amen.